Hello, Weekend Crafter! Welcome back to the Craft Time Studio. I'm Ange, and for today, I'm sharing with you my baking setup as well as doing a couple of experiments. A subscriber asked how I bake my polymer clay creations. I'm sure we all have our own preference. I have been using a regular simple oven toaster for over 10 years now. The Sculpey website has already debunked the thinking that you cannot use the same oven for clay and food. But my personal choice is to have a separate toaster simply because I do a lot of projects and it's just more convenient for me to have one that is dedicated to claying. I have also situated the oven in a place that gets a lot of ventilation so that my room doesn't stink up in case I make the mistake of overbaking them. So what I do when I begin is to make sure that I preheat my oven first. If it's your first time ever to use a particular oven, an oven thermometer is also a good thing to have on hand. I bake my clay in 3-minute intervals. Let's set the oven for 3 minutes and see how high the temperature goes. The important thing that I'm looking out for is that the temperature doesn't exceed the baking temperature of the clay because I can always do more repetitions. However, if the temperature exceeds the baking time of the clay, I will definitely burn my pieces. Once I've preheated my oven, I can now put in my clay. I will be placing my clay on 2 different surfaces. One is a glass mat and the other is a glass mat covered with parchment paper. Since the pieces that I'm baking are just 1/16 of an inch, I can get my pieces baked in about 12 minutes. So I do 4 rounds of 3-minute intervals with a cooling break of 3 minutes per bake. As there is no thermostat control on this oven, I really need to have breaks in between baking so that the temperature doesn't get too high. Also consider the thickness of your pieces because that affects your baking time. And finally, the pieces are baked. Now, let's compare the underbellies of these pieces. The one baked with a glass mat actually have shiny spots. These spots can actually be removed with sanding, but it is time-consuming. The pieces that have parchment paper is all matte, which is actually what I want so that I don't have to spend so much time on sanding. As an extra tip, let's compare sticking posts to sanded and unsanded pieces. This is the piece baked on the glass mat, which I purposely did not sand. I also did not sand the earring post. I will be attaching them with some super glue. The second one is the matte piece. I am sanding the posts and I'm also sanding the part where I want to attach my posts. When you're selling your pieces, I suggest you do a stress test. I do multiple pullings of the earring backing to see if the glue has actually adhered to the piece. As you can see, the posts stick better to the sanded piece. This is because roughening them up enables the glue to bond to something, as opposed to when they are smooth. You really need to test how durable your posts are to avoid getting customer complaints. I hope that my experiments are useful to some of you. I know we all work with our own setups, and this is just something that has proven to be effective for me to bake my pieces and stick my posts. Do experiment a lot because it helps you figure out what is best for you and your oven. If you have other questions, do let me know. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't yet, do consider liking and subscribing to the Craft Time Studio. Have a crafty weekend. Bye!